Do you think the church has a responsibility to help single moms? Stick around, let's talk about it today. Hi, welcome to the Profit Dare. I am Tim Kiser. On this channel, we provide simple financial solutions that promote savvy stewardship. If this is your first time joining me, thank you for stopping by. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if you are a subscriber, blessings to you. You're really helping us a lot, and we appreciate it. So the question is, does the church or individuals in the church have responsibility to help bless, single moms? And I'm going to say yes, they do. And there's a scripture, it's in Psalm 68:5, I believe it says that the God is the father to the fatherless and the helper of the widow, loose translation. And that's a scripture my mom wrote in the Bible she gave me many years ago. And I was raised by a single mom. I have 3 brothers, and she pretty much did it all, right? She was mommy and dad for the most part for everything. And so I saw firsthand the opportunity the church has to bless single moms and the impact it has on these young kids and how they can either be attracted to or repelled from the church or people in the church or the things of the church. And so let's just talk about, I'm going to probably do maybe seven things that the church or individuals that comprise the church can do to bless single moms. And I have an article on my website called The Profit Dare. So you go to theprofitdare.com, and it's how to bless single moms, like 19 of them. There's a lot. And these are things I've done or seen modeled very well in the course of my life in the church. So the first thing I want to talk about is buying groceries, something really simple. And a lot of times the church, unfortunately, regrettably, we often refer people to like government agencies, which, we have those. So thankfully we have those that can help. We can help in those situations. But we in the church must find a way to crowd out the government. The government has zero compassion, and they really are looking for people to be dependent upon them, my take. And the church needs to learn how to bless people. And it'd be helpful if churches had the ability to do this, or individuals in the church. So you don't have to wait. See, you're the church, I'm the church. If you're part of the body of Christ, we don't have to say the church has to do something. We can do something. You could be as simple as you're in line at the supermarket and you see somebody, and you can tell. A lot of times you can tell. You have a mom who's like 3 kids. Kids are climbing all over the place, and they're stressed out. Well, just buy groceries for them if you have the money. Or if you don't have the ability to buy all the groceries for people, why don't you get with the church family and say, how can we do this? How can we bless somebody? But just because there's social services available to people doesn't really mean the church should go about not doing stuff, right? So buying groceries is one thing. Another thing I want to talk about is offering auto maintenance, vehicle maintenance. Now there's an organization, and they have a couple hundred locations by now, called Christian Brothers Automotive. And when I lived in Illinois, I would go out of my way to visit the one in West Chicago, and it's a Christian ran organization. I was really close to actually buying a franchise for that in Illinois, but we moved away. So it's a great organization. Like once a year, they offer like free oil changes to single moms. Fantastic. But a lot of moms need oil changes more than just once a year. And regrettably, many mechanic places take advantage of people who don't know much about cars. And they walk in, they need an air filter change, and they walk out with a $500 bill that's unnecessary. So I believe Christian Brothers is run very well, faith-based. So if you are a single mom listening to this right now and you have one near you, if you have auto problems, go there and hold them accountable to do things in a Christ-like manner. But if you're a church or you're someone who has mechanical ability, you can change changing oil, and even still changing brakes is pretty easy. I mean, even in newer cars. Offer to do this for somebody. I mean, we don't want a single mom who maybe have a tight budget anyways to be running around on an oil that's 20,000 miles old, and then they have a bigger problem and their engine blows. Or just say, hey, I'll take, you take your car and you fill it up with gas, you change the oil, you check the brakes, you fill all the fluids. Just be a blessing. That's another way you can do it, is auto maintenance. This is one that I've seen practiced very well. And this one is not easy to do. It takes a lot of sacrifice, and it takes a lot of kindness and belief in God. And it's giving someone a place to stay. I know of a family has allowed another family to live with them for a long period of time, and it's fantastic. And it's a symbiotic blessing. It really is in many cases. But if there is someone in your church or someone you're aware of that's struggling, and you have space, and it's a good fit, and you have proper boundaries set because you had to set proper boundaries for this kind of things, could you not give them a place to stay for a little while? Now, again, me saying I was raised by a single mom, so we were kind of in and out of places a lot as a kid. And fortunately for us, we had grandparents to fall on. So I spent a lot of my time living with my brothers and my mom with my grandparents as well. And there were times when we had this like weekends where we didn't have a place to go, and we would stay someplace. But there was, and I think back now as an adult, I think I didn't understand it as a kid. My mom sheltered us from a lot of the problems, but you had these people that were gracious enough, generous enough to give us a place to stay for a weekend or a night or whatever because things were going wrong. So, are you that person? Could you be that person? Right. So let's think about that. Here's one that impacted me dramatically as a kid. I loved to fish as a youngster. I could go bass fishing every single day from spring to fall. And just loved it. And as a young kid, even really little. And so single moms, for the most part, are very protective over their children and always trying to get people to help them and stuff. And it's a good way. But I can think of two situations in my life. And I was really young. And it's weird that these memories stick in my brain. And these two are bad memories. So I was with my mom was with some of her friends from church, and the husband was going out, and he was going crappie fishing. So he was going on his little boat, and he was going crappie fishing. And they're like, "You should take Tim." They probably said Timmy. "You should take Timmy out fishing. He loves to fish." And I could tell the guy really didn't want me to go. But moms and friends don't take no for an answer. So then I knew I wasn't wanted. And so I went, and I reluctantly went, and it was kind of not a really good situation. And then another time we lived in Georgia when I was a little kid, and same thing happened. And my mom's a single mom, this lady and her husband's going bass fishing, which was my favorite thing to do. And she's like, "You should take Tim. He loves to fish." And he didn't want to go. He didn't want me to go. It was obvious. He probably was gonna, pop some cold ones and not have kids around talking. And it wasn't like I would run my mouth. I understood what fishing was all about. And he didn't want me to go either. And both situations had been better if I wasn't even asked. They were just awful situations. So one of the funnest things I had. And so in both situations, these men I could tell I was more of a hindrance to them than anything else. But then the third situation was very positive. Again, not having a dad around, loved to fish. And I had an uncle, my youngest aunt, and my Uncle Mike. And he was at the time, he's older than me, obviously, but he took me. It was a panfish tournament. And all my friends had their dads take them out and say, perch, crappie, bluegill, whatever. And he took me out, and it was so much fun. And this is well over 40 years later. Still remember it. And it was like he took the time to be with me and poured into my life that day and made a very special day for me. And I think a lot of us are repelled from some of the femininity it's in the church. And I'm not trying to pick on men specifically, but I'm saying if you're a man in the church and you're a real man and you see somebody in your church that's a young person and you have the capability to take them fishing or hunting or something outdoorsy, do it. Do it. They're not going to get it any other way. And then they're getting older and they're not know how to do it. But you can make a world of a difference in someone's life for the mom, for the mom and for the kid. Here's 3 stories I told you that are 40 years later in my life, probably almost, in some cases, almost 50 years later in my life. And I remember 2 negative and 1 very positive story. And all 3 people were Christians. 2 negative, 1 positive. And so I want us to be the positive influence in the mom's life, and and then also in the life of their children, right? So we can do it. We have the capability. How about let them borrow a car. Let them borrow a car for a little while. If they need to get back and forth to work, find a way to help them. And if you have a car maybe you have an extra car. Most people these days seem to have more than 1 car, and one maybe not even be used. Here you have a mom that's her life is turned upside down. Is it possible for us as Christians to inconvenience ourselves even a little bit and let someone else help somebody else at our expense? So if we have two cars and we're going to say, well, I only use this one a few times a week, so we're going to find a way to share a car, which was not very uncommon 20 years ago. Now everyone had 2 or 3 cars. So we're going to do this to bless that family. Is that possible? You could do it. Help them figure out a way to buy a car later, or maybe you're getting ready to upgrade and you just give them the other one that you're not using. I mean, radical generosity should be part of our lives on a regular basis, right? So there you go. Let them use one of your cars. Setting services. So we have a situation where if a single mom needs to work, it's very possible where do you know how expensive daycare is? Oh my gosh, it's the craziest thing. And I'm not saying it's not worth it because you're outsourcing raising your kids to somebody. But if you're a single mom and you have to work, there's no other income coming in. Could a church mother or grandmother come up alongside this person and say, you know what, I'll take your kids for this season in your life and I'm going to bless them. You may not have to charge them anything. You know, we don't always have to make money off somebody else's pain. Are we solving a problem for them? Absolutely. But maybe you just sow that generosity into them and say, you know, I want you to get on your feet, and you help them. And you're like, so instead of paying $100 a kid per week, and so they're basically working for $3 an hour, you're saying, nope, you just drop them off, you know, put some snacks in their bags, and then I'm gonna bless them. We're gonna catechize you. We're gonna teach your kids about Jesus, and they're not having to give the kids away to someone they don't know or don't trust and pay a ton of money, and so they can maybe help get their life back on track financially until they can figure out what's going on. Could we do that? How about church mothers like in Titus? Titus talks about this in the book of Titus. Talks about the older women mentoring and discipling the younger women. We really need that today. So if you're an older woman in the church, and older doesn't mean you have to be old, just means you're older than somebody else. So if you have a mom who's in her 20s or 30s and you're in your late 30s or 40s, you're older, you've been through some things. Help them out, put your arm around them and bless them. The last one I want to talk about right now is a small group. Now, I'm a firm believer in community groups. I believe the church needs them in every situation. I believe it helps build community, it builds stickiness. And because a lot of times we go into church, we put on a facade, right? We're like, I'm fine, everything's great. And you're like arguing all the way into the parking lot, and all of a sudden you get, you straighten your tie, metaphorically speaking, and you're like, oh, we're awesome, we're fine, no one ever fights. But you go to a small group, and you do that in church, so we have this tendency to be fake. But we go to small groups in people's houses, and all of a sudden that facade's not nearly as clear, or not nearly as solid, right? So start a small group and roll your sleeves up and become a blessing to somebody and allow them to speak freely and honestly about their pain. And you can speak freely and honestly about solutions, being the primary solution is going to be strong biblical content, prayer, fellowship amongst each other, and being a blessing to people, right? So start a small group where, and if you can, if it's possible, if it's a small group for single moms, offer, daycare or childcare during that time, so they're not worried about that too, and trying to, I gotta find a babysitter and it cost me $50 just for the night. No, try to do it where they can do that, and be a blessing to them. Let them know that this season will go by fast. Life seems to be like it's going to be just impossible to solve, but that's not the case. Things have a tendency to work out, but we can help accelerate this through strong biblical content, through prayer, through fellowship, through being there for people. You can do it. So here it is. Yeah. So I hope this has been a blessing to you. I didn't know how many I did, 6 or 7. I was kind of rattling off the top of my head from the article. But we actually absolutely have a responsibility and obligation to help single moms. And just as an aside, there are some single dads out there raising kids too. These apply to them in a lot of ways too, right? So if you're able to help single dads too, please do it. Don't think just because they're a dad they don't need help. They do. There you go. A few ways to bless single moms with the church. I'm the church. You're the church. Let's be a blessing. We are blessed to be a blessing. If this content has helped you, please like, subscribe, share. And I will see you soon with a new video. Until then, may God's blessing be upon you, overwhelm you, and overtake you.